Everybody, welcome back to the Cloud Slayer channel. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm excited. Thanksgiving coming up this coming week. Hopefully everybody has safe travels, And in regard to traveling safe, we had our first snowfall for the year. And, to no surprise, there was, in our state, anyways, Minnesota alone, like 524 accidents in the first day. Absolutely bonkers, man. It sucks, right? It rained the night before, then it snowed, and it was freaking icy out there. But people were still driving like it was summertime. Absolutely mind-boggling. Happens every year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People seem to tend to forget that. Even in trucks that it's slippery, and then people in cars slip and slide as well, especially if you ain't got four-wheel drive, but four-wheel drive ain't gonna save you if you're sliding, you know what I mean? And, it's unfortunate. We seen a few, got up early, take my son to school, and traffic backup. Somebody crashed, front end was destroyed, wrecked in the middle of an intersection, Was it their fault? I have no idea. Were they okay? I hope so. Didn't see anybody there. There was an ambulance probably checking them out. No reports of anybody dying or anything like that. But, the possibility's there. Right before that, I'd say about 3-4 miles down the way, we have to enter the highway. And there was quite a bit of people exiting off of one of our roads to go enter onto the highway, and just car in front of us, like two cars in front of us, they had a car in front of them, and they got too impatient. There was traffic that had to go over because, we were merging over, so they decent enough to get over to try to avoid accidents. But on this particular day, this car frickin' tries to pass them because they were too impatient. They must have been trying to go to work, trying to risk it for the biscuit, and tried to go past this car right away, Some people just impatient. They have to floor it, pedal to the metal. They don't care if it's slippery. They don't care if it's snowed. And frickin' tries to pass them and almost runs this truck off the side of the road, almost sideswipes them. The truck had to move over. They could have went into the ditch and got into an accident, could have hit something. Luckily, there wasn't no speed medians there where we live at and things like that. And luckily, they didn't lose control. Luckily, the car didn't lose control and hit somebody, hit those guys. And I was like, God, man, doesn't matter how much of a rush you're in. Don't risk your life for that. Don't risk other people's lives for that kind of stuff, right? It's absolutely bonkers. What's the worst that's going to happen? You wait to pass them, even though it's slippery, ill-advised. This person could have been their first time driving in wintertime. Maybe they're young, maybe they just moved there. Have some patience. Work's always going to be there. Call them ahead of time. Be like, hey, man, roads are freaking slippery. I want to be a few minutes late. It's better than putting people's lives in danger, and it happens every year. People tend to forget that things can happen. Accidents happen, especially when we're in a hurry and we're not taking our time. It can even happen when we're doing that. So imagine increasing the possibility of something happening just because you want to save a couple seconds, a couple minutes to get somewhere faster. It's a different thing if the roads and conditions are fine and, there isn't any frozen roads, because I already knew it was slippery too. Like, I was like, oh man, my truck is freaking sliding all over the freaking place and this little car doing that shit. But, whatever. Nothing happened. Luckily right there, had my son in the back, and I'm like, dude, imagine the other person in the truck had their kid in there. How scary that would be for them. Almost getting ran off the road early in the morning just going to school, But maybe the other person in that little car had a kid too. Like, why are you driving like that, You're putting people's lives in danger. You're putting your life in danger too. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And hopefully they learned a lesson from that near miss, that something could have happened. Somebody could have died. Somebody could have got hurt really bad. And you know whose fault it would have been? It would have been their fault, That's not I wouldn't want to live with that, I wouldn't even want to live with that if it were a true accident and I wasn't in a hurry, And, dude, dude, just settle down, take a chill pill, and bide your time, Take your time, get into places, especially when the roads and the conditions are not in a favorable way for you to be driving like a maniac, right? Also, that being said, you're an adult, you make your life choices, and, don't let this deter you from doing that or me telling you what to do, because ultimately you're going to make that choice. I guess I'm going to say this, I hope that everybody makes the best choices that, that are going to be best for them and those around them. I don't know the situation. Person could have been tired. Person could have pulled an all-nighter for all I know. And, it's crazy. It's crazy. Hopefully, though, that they learn a lesson and not do that in the future, Like, oh, man, maybe I got to slow down. Maybe I got to take my time. Maybe I'll call ahead of time and be like, I'm going to be a few minutes late, And it just, stuff like that worries me. And I'm like, man, it makes me feel sad because since having a kid, I think about those things a little bit more, a little bit differently than I used to as a kid myself, right? You don't know the horrors of, possibly thinking of something might happen or could happen to the ones that you love the most, especially the little ones, right? The little ones that we call our children. God forbid that something like that happens, which it does. Also, there was I seen somebody park their car in the side of a building as well. I believe Sunday night and in the Bemidji area. Crazy stuff, man. That's crazy. How the heck? I guess I can guess, but the roads aren't even slippery like they were. Oh man. Wild stuff. Hopefully it wasn't like drunk or on drugs or something, or you know what I mean. Could have blew a tire, I suppose, too. I don't know the exact details, but it is absolutely crazy. Whoever did the camera work is a menace because they did a terrible job. But then again, hopefully they were driving while they were doing a terrible job recording. So stay off your phones when you're driving, people. That's also terrible too. Have another story. We're having a pizza party at work, and was going to pick up the pizzas for the peeps at work and stuff like that. And Matt and I, we get on a highway. I'm driving. Matt's in the passenger side. We're just shooting the shit on our way to get the za. And we see cop lights probably half a mile in front of us. And then another car entered the highway. Then the lights went on, right? Another cop. So they stop in the middle of the road. We slow down so no accidents happen, right? You got to slow down, make sure everybody's in safe positions and stuff like that. And the cop, he pulls out a shotgun or something out of his trunk, and it was like, oh man, this must be serious. But as we approached the scene, the car, it was a nice truck too. It was probably like, I'd say 2020 or newer Dodge Ram or something. Front end mangled the beat hell, hit the speed median. Hopefully they're okay. Hopefully they weren't, hopefully nobody got hurt real bad or too bad, and it's scary. But hopefully nobody was doing it on drugs or got ran off the road, because sometimes you come across people that are freaking crazy drivers and run people off the road too, just on purpose. I've seen people try to do that shit right in front of me. I've seen people do it in a parking lot at the Sanford Center where we live at, just because they might have got cut off, maybe because, somebody looked at them wrong or some dumb shit like that, right? Only God knows why people, what possesses people to do these things sometimes. It happens. I mean, I've act out of anger before too, and without thinking, and do things I'm not proud of. But you know, that goes without saying that it's not not acceptable. It's not a good thing. Think about your actions before you do it, right? But hopefully that wasn't the case. Hopefully everybody's all right. But that nice truck, man, that would hopefully they had insurance and weren't under the influence and things like that. You know, drugs and alcohol, all these things they can hurt you, especially if you're operating a vehicle. Even prescribed medications that you aren't supposed to, or that you're not supposed to take while driving. You know. I have a slight story with that. You know, I used to drive intoxicated myself, but one of my first experiences was with my father. You know, he had medications he had to take, and you know, he wasn't supposed to take them while driving, but nobody else had a license, and my mom forgot her lunch and stuff like that. So he was gonna do the nice thing and you know, we go take her lunch and say hi and whatever, and man, yeah, he drove, you know, we drove. It was maybe a 10-minute ride at most, you know. And then he said he was fine to drive, and he said if I had to, that I had to drive, even though I did not even have my permit at the time. I was like 15, 16 years old, you know. I think I was working on my blue card because I was in driver's ed at the time, and then you know, made it there just fine. Seemed to be fine. He said he was seeing doubles at the time, but he was fine, you know. And then we start going on our way back, and he's like, "It's getting worse. It's getting worse. But might have to pull over." And then he's like, "I think I'm all right." And then we approach this sign. He had to make this right hand turn and almost turned right into the sign. I was like, "Dude, what are you doing? What the fuck?" He's like, "Dude, I told you, you know, whatever." I'm like, "Then let me drive. Like, what are you doing? Like, if it's that bad, I told you I'd do it, you know? Like, I might not be experienced, but the roads should be fine for me to drive." And, you know, thank goodness we made it home. We didn't crash or anything, thank God, you know. But the thing is, like, sometimes when you're the adult and you're in a situation you just want to bring your wife some lunch, and you know, you took medications that that was prescribed to you, doesn't mean you should be driving. Doesn't mean that you should go through with it, right? You know, it's just like you put people's lives in danger, at risk, for what? You know, for some food, for you know, something like that. Drink some water or something. I don't know what to say, but you know, it's not worth it. Especially you may think you could, but that might be your last thought too. You know, because anything can happen at any time. Even if you did it hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times. You know, it just takes that one time for something to happen, and it will happen eventually. It catches up to you, right? They always say that it catches up to you, and then you might get like let's say you do hundreds of times, you know, you drink and you drive, and you know you're like, oh man, I sober up, I see cops, like when I see other drivers, blah blah blah. I've never been in an accident for, you know, let's say 25 years. I'll just use that as an example. I've heard other people do that while I was drinking, and you know, at parties and shit, and people gloat about that, you know, drinking and driving and never being in accidents, and it's something to be proud of, blah, 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 right? You know, it takes that one time, man. You get comfortable, and you might fall asleep at the wheel while driving because you're so freaking hammered, because you're comfortable. I've done this hundreds of times. I won't fall asleep when I'm driving. You might underestimate how drunk you actually are, or the AC is blasting, or the heat is blasting during the middle of winter and is drying your eyeballs out, and then you're like, oh, you know, or you took, sometimes you might take drugs while you're drinking. You know, it's a possibility, and it might be one of those uppers that might decrease the effects of the alcohol on you, and that might be wearing down, and all of a sudden it hits you like a ton of bricks, and you know, you black out, you frickin', something like that happens, and you know, uh, that's all it takes. And then all of a sudden, you might, if you're lucky enough, you come to and you're alive, and you might have killed somebody, or somebody that you love. You could have been in a terrible accident, for all you know, if you didn't kill yourself, right? Or you might get lucky, minimal injuries, maybe even unscathed, maybe even didn't have an accident, but it might not happen the next time. And if it does happen that time, like, what's going to happen, man? You hurt somebody, not worth it, right? And if you do make it through, like I said, maybe that should be a wake-up call for some people. Some people, they can't put down the sauce, right? They keep doing it anyways, and hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you don't keep repeating it. Hopefully you count your blessings and you're like, man, this is something I got to reflect on, because I don't remember how I got home last night. I don't, and I'm the one that clearly drove, right? You wake up on your couch, passed out with your keys in your hands, and you go outside and your door's still open, your windshield wipers are half, whatever, and you have tomatoes and onions all around your seat, and clearly you were eating a burger. So I've been through that situation where I made it home, and it was middle of winter when I was real young, and I woke up on the couch, keys in my pocket or in my hand, and I go outside. I'm like, how the fuck did I get home? And I drove myself home. Could have hurt myself, could have hurt others, stuff like that too. And it can happen to anybody. And just because you go unscathed once, maybe twice, or anything like that, doesn't mean you should continue to do it. Drink and driving, not good. Drugging and driving, not good. Just being in a hurry and driving, not good, right? None of these things are good. And all of these things could lead to something that could happen to somebody, right? But I also seen it happen, like I said, to other people. That situation right there was me getting lucky and nothing happening. But from one of my friends, not so lucky, right? Had a buddy drinking and driving, passed out, and he ended up passing out on the railroad tracks. Train hit him, killed him dead, right? He could have been trying to commit suicide for all we know, but because when people drink a lot, sometimes they're in despair because they don't know how to cope with things. I had a awesome teacher, Rob Tibbetts. He come on the podcast once and talked about taking the inhibitor of alcoholism, right? People that do drink a lot, especially in more impoverished areas, they don't know how to cope with some of these things, and they use alcohol as that escape to cope with things instead of maybe traditional things such as, like sweat lodges and ceremonial purposes and stuff like that, things get glamorized to drink booze and have a good time or whatever that may be, and that's how people get past it. And it's a sad reality, and it's not a good reality for myself to be a part of that. And I hate to admit it, but that's the truth, right? I've had close calls throughout my life, and I'm very lucky to still be standing here, still be able to share some of these stories, and still to be able to talk with some awesome people, whether it be for the podcast or, playing video games and making friends and stuff like that, streaming. By the way, if you want to check us, drop by the stream. It's Cloud Slayer on twitch.tv /Cloud Slayer. Come check me out, say what up or whatever. You want to play some games, hit me up. It is what it is. But, these situations, it could be your first time doing these things, so I'm not going to gripe too much about it. But the point being this is be safe out there, right? Be safe, and if a blessing comes your way, you got to realize that not everybody's that lucky, right? I'll have another situation here where there's teenagers, they're drinking, they're partying. It was out in Wobbin area. I worked at the Shooting Star Casino at the time. I had a girlfriend that was at Wobbin School, so she was in school with these people. You know what I mean? And they were drinking, partying, whatever. They're driving down the highway, 80, 90 miles per hour, slide into the ditch and crash, right? There was 5 people in the vehicle, if I remember correctly. 4 of them got ejected out of the vehicle, flew out of the vehicle, right? One of them was buckled up. And it was a miracle that none of those 4 that got ejected got hurt, died, or anything like that, you know? They almost virtually unscathed, just some scratches and stuff like that, right? No broken bones, none of that. The one in the seatbelt broke her back in a couple places and things like that, and you know, had to relearn how to walk and stuff like that. It was crazy, right? And you know, all for what? Drinking and driving, especially as teenagers, because in these areas, not gonna lie, you know, adults allow their children to drink, even if they don't, you know, like they're doing it anyways. They're finding ways to do it. Other parents don't care, or you know, sometimes they don't live with their parents. And quite simply, right? They're allowed free roam because sometimes their parents aren't there. Maybe their parents are in trouble. Maybe their parents are locked up. Maybe their parents are dead, and those things happen, right? They find themselves in a place where people don't care as much, and they're allowed to do anything that they want to, right? That's just the situations that some people are in. Maybe they're in a life of gang-related activity. You don't know. And sometimes, you know, like some people want to judge, but in the end, you don't know their situation. You don't know why they were dealt a hand. You don't know why they're affiliated with these gangs. That's all they know. That's all they were given. That's the only way they can survive, right? And, you know, they're out there partying because that's the lifestyle that's portrayed to them from other people in this gang in the small towns and stuff like that, or just all these friendships that they build, these relationships that they build, you know. And lucky in that situation, nobody died, right? And also, like, I'm talking about those gang things, like these people that, you know, young people that are influenced to join gangs, you know. They might be lucky enough to go to college and get pretty decent jobs and stay out of that life and escape that life, you know. The ones that aren't as lucky, you know, they continue to party, they continue to do stuff that aren't as productive for them, that won't keep them away from that lifestyle, you know. They end up dying, they end up killing people, they end up going to jail, prison, whatever it is. Some, you know, not allowed second chances. Some of them are lucky enough to take second chances. Some of them just keep doing it over and over because they can't control the life on the outside, you know. They have to keep going back to prison and things like that. And it's a sad reality. It's a sad, sad reality. It's a sad society that some people are exposed to, that some people live in, you know. And it could be happening anywhere. It could be happening near you as we speak right now. Actually, 100% most likely happening right close by to you, and you don't even know it, right? You might have taken things for granted because you might have good parents. Or right now, as I'm speaking, you might be going through that situation as well. And, you know, sometimes they'll laugh it off, and that's all you know. Well, we'll just laugh about it. We'll joke about it. But when it happens, when tragedy strikes, it's no laughing matter. And they know it too, right? And, you know, sometimes they find those situations to just keep drinking anyways, keep drinking and drugging and hiding from reality. And if you are in those situations, hopefully you learn from these situations. Hopefully you don't continue down that road. Hopefully you find a different way to cope. Hopefully you find a different way to live. hopefully you figure out how to stay away from that stuff in your life and do better, you know? Hopefully you count your blessings at the end. Hopefully you can make a difference in your own kid's life one day. But anyways, this has been a Cloud Slayer channel ramble. I hope you guys have a great one, great Monday, great week. And I don't like to be too gloomy all the time, but these situations are real. I've been a part of them. I've seen many people a part of them. I've seen tragedy strike. I've seen greatness come from dark places. I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel. And it takes a little hard work. It takes you wanting to get out of these fucking situations, and it takes you to realize that you can do better, that it's not always going to be against you, you know, that sometimes it's you against you, and it's you who has to make those changes in your life. So for better or for worse, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. You might even regret your choices at times, but you have to have faith, right? There's no ups without downs. But with all downs, there's got to be an up, especially if you keep looking up. So until next time, I hope you guys have a great one. You guys like this content. You know, please hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate it if you made it this far. If not, I know I'm just a dickhead that likes to ramble and talk about these situations. So anyways, until next time, guys, peace.